It is now time to catch up with someone who last time he was here, he was in an airport. And airports are like in, concrete. And Miguel was trying his damnedest to come up with any kind of a signal to catch up with us from the airport. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Nelson. Good, good, good. It's a pleasure to be here. Yep, not in an airport, surprisingly, but equally as happy, probably happier to be here with you in a different setting, for sure.
As always, my friend, it's great to see you, and thanks for hopping on as our Friday guest. Obviously, you know that I have to start our discussion with the purple team, as it is called here in the Southeast, and what in the wide world of sports happened last week. So I will ask you, sir, quote, what in the wide world of sports happened last week?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. The simplest way to put it is Messi happened to Orlando City. Yes, it is true that Orlando City is going through a transitional year, I would say. There's a lot of changes within the club, certainly at the top, above Oscar Pareja, the new general manager, Ricardo Moreira, is now at the helm and making decisions as to how the construction of the roster looks like. There's a little bit of wiggle room just because you already had your three designated players right on the roster. They decided to loan out Muriel to open up a DP spot. Obviously, there are rumors out there that Antoine Griezmann is coming to Orlando City. I know as much as you do about the situation, but I'm certainly just as excited as everybody for the possibility for someone of his caliber and where he is at his current time, physically and just soccer-wise. I think he still has a lot to give to the league. But besides that, there wasn't really a ton of wiggle room for Oscar Pareja and Ricardo to work on this season. Obviously, they sold Alex Freeman to Villarreal. They thought they had a backup plan. That didn't pan out through the offseason. They emergency signed Dorsey from the Houston Dynamo, a player that has similar characteristics of what Freeman was providing to the team, which is being aggressive on the right-hand side, being very, very much a two-way defender, making good connections with Spashalic, who's a right winger, likes to come inside, and they need that chemistry and that association on the right hand for the system to work. And then they bring three young Brazilians that it's always a gamble, right? Do they have quality? Do they have talent? Absolutely. They come from playing first team minutes in Brazil. Iago, the center back, maybe not as much because he was playing for such a big club as Flamengo, but you can certainly tell the quality and his physicality. But it's very evident that these players are going to need time to adjust. And so, how much patience would the fans have? How much patience will the league because you cannot be giving up points, especially at home. That those will always come back and haunt you in the end of the season. So, look, it's going to be I suspect it's going to be a challenging year for Oscar Pareja in Orlando City. And in that particular game, second half, they were completely pinned back by Inter Miami. Credit to Macherano because he recognized what he could do to put a lot of pressure on Orlando City and really take away the ball from them. And when you're Inter Miami and you have the ball, it's just a matter of time before he breaks you down. It's just a matter of time before he gets a moment. And very little players in the league are able to do what he can do. Was Crepeau liable for the fourth goal? Yes, you can say that. Did it have anything to do with the score? Probably not. But if I could say it in simple terms, what happened was Orlando City is going through a transitional year, and they happened to play against one of the best players that's ever played, who was probably pretty angry because of the result in LA, and also some of the things that apparently were said during the match. The last thing you want to do is piss off these guys because you will feel the wrath.
It literally is like stepping on Superman's cape because when he broke out the air pen and turned to the bench, I'm like, damn, son. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that. And literally, I just, if this was at Oscar, I don't know who it was on the bench, but you don't do that. And you saw that moment where you're just like, yep, you throw up your hands and you're done.
Yeah.
How much patience, and I ask this kind of as a comparative, how much patience are you willing, or should folks be willing to give a team like Orlando that is in transition? And I bring that up because up here in Atlanta, it's Tata Martino is back. You have new players coming in. You're looking at new players at center back and at wing back and in the midfield. How much patience should fans give these teams that are in transition here, as we're only in match week number 3?
Yeah, you know what? That's not an answer for me. That's not a question for me to answer. You have to look at the contractual situation of Oscar Pareja. He still has a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, with Orlando City. How much ambition does the front office, the Will family, show?
Yeah.
If things don't go well, are they willing to part ways? And you know, um, in the middle of a contract, that's not cheap. And then who are you going to get that you think is going to be a different maker? And if you think that there's somebody better out there at this particular time than Oscar Pareja, then the answer is it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be just anyone. Like I said, I think there's just a lot of elements here. And I think Oscar Pareja is one of the best coaches in Major League Soccer, certainly one of the most experienced ones since he's been with Orlando City. He's reached playoffs every single year. And you guys in Atlanta know how much Orlando City suffered in the first year. And then he came, he brought stability to the club. They started to accomplish important things like making it to the playoffs every year, winning a US Open Cup, and being a protagonist, I would say, every season. Now, what is the expectation for Orlando City? Is it to continue to be a playoff team, or is it go for the stars and reach for the stars, just like Atlanta United did in the beginning of the franchise history? And listen, you could argue that things. It's inarguable that Atlanta United has not been the best team in the last 2, 3, 4 years, but you cannot argue at their intent. You cannot argue at their ambition, because they're willing to spend, they're willing to break apart processes that are not working, which I think it's something very valuable, right? Other ownership groups may be like, all right, this didn't work out, but I don't really care enough to drop a bomb here and then hit the reset button. I think that's brave. And it requires resources, and it requires the ability to spend the money so you can hit a reset. Whether if you get it right or not, I think that's the beauty of the sport, right? Because money does not guarantee anything. And you could argue that FC Cincinnati is in the same situation. I've always thought that if FC Cincinnati doesn't win things, it's a failure because of the money that they spend, the players that they have every single year. So I'm interested to see what the ambition of Orlando City truly is. And so that, I think, answers your question. I don't have that answer. As fans are not patient. Fans are very much, I want to win today. I want to be able to go to the stadium and get a good result. I don't want to be able to go to the stadium and tell my kids or my friends, yeah, well, it's going to take time. It's a process. Trust the process, right? The famous one. But unfortunately, for some of these teams that are asking for trust the process, you have teams like LAFC, the beginning of Atlanta United, San Diego, even I would say Nashville, that right from the get go, they start to win things and they start to be protagonists. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Where is their trust the process? Because they begin winning right away. And so, again, I'm an Orlando City supporter. I'm an Orlando City fan because I played for Orlando City since the beginning. And how much patience do I have? Look, I I trust Oscar Breja to do what it needs to do to turn things around. Is the team constructed the way I think is going to give them success this season? I'm having a hard time believing that. I think there's a lot of holes in the team that need to be fixed, especially defensively. I think they're going to struggle defensively. And look, if they get Antoine Griezmann, okay, yes, he can score goals, he can create. This is hoping that he's an immediate impact, or are we going to ask him for? Are we going to give him time so he can adapt to the league? There's always the possibility of, a situation like Insigne, who came from Napoli. He's a proven player, came to Toronto FC, and he was a bust. You guys at Atlanta United know that it's not a guarantee to bring designated players and top level players and top dollar players. It's never a guarantee. So, in a best case scenario, Griezmann comes in and he starts scoring goals. He solves some Orlando City problems in the attack, but I would argue that they still have some problems defensively. Robin Janssen is injured. He'll be out for half of the season. He's also not the Robin Janssen that he was 2 years ago. Brekalo was brought a couple of years ago. He spent most of his time playing as a fullback, which I think he did a fine job. Now he's going to have to be a leader in the back line as a center back, and he's paired up with a U20 Brazilian, national team player. You can say that, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. And what we've seen in the last few games, it's going to take him some time to adjust to the league. And then in the left back, I think they have issues as well. Adrian Marin, I don't think he's shown to be a player that can contain top level wingers in the league. And they've just debuted a kid, Tahir Reed Brown, who you can tell he's got quality, you can tell he's got talent, but I think it's unfair to put all that pressure on a player that is just making his debut and go against some of the best players in the league. Because you know as well as I do that the teams spend most of their money in quality wingers and strikers. And so now you're asking a 17-year-old to go against. I mean, imagine this: you're 17 years old. Could be wrong. So he's around 17 years old. And your very first game in Major League Soccer is against Messi and Berterame and Allende. Woof. How do you sleep the night before knowing that you're going to start against these guys? That is a tough pill to swallow. That is a lot to ask from these players. But listen, I personally have patience because I understand what it takes to rebuild a team. But I don't know how much the fans are going to have patience. I certainly don't know how ambitious the front staff is to have difficult decision making, if things don't go the way they want them to.
Yeah, Tahir Reed Brown, 19, but still, man, you ain't getting no sleep. It's like I know tomorrow it's going to be it's Rodrigo de Paul, it's that Messi dude, it's Suarez, it's Berterame. I mean, Maxi Falcone and his head of lettuce. I mean, it's all there, man. It is all there, and you're lining up and sitting there and trying not to be shell shocked. Try to do your job. Try not to sit there and have your eyes wide open the entire time and head on the swivel. I'm giggling like I'm on the field with Messi. Oh crap, he just went past me. Having those kinds of moments. Getting into match week 3 outside of the purple team. What has study hall been like for you getting ready for match week 3?
Look, I'm excited for this game. I had the opportunity to call the Real Salt Lake versus Seattle Sounders match up in Sandy, Utah, and I was really impressed with Real Salt Lake, honestly. I think they're going to be a dark horse in the West. When you look at the pieces that they have foundationally, some of the injuries that they are recovering from, like especially in the middle of the field with Pablo Ruiz, who I think is an underrated player. And look, the story with Real Salt Lake is certainly going to be Diego Luna and Xavier Gozo on the right-hand side, this 18-year-old player who I think is going to be a star. He is already arguably the biggest star in Real Salt Lake when Luna is not playing. Their new designated player, Morgan Gilavogi, looks like the real deal. Mind you, we had 20 minutes of data on him, but every time he touched the ball, he was intentional. He's a big dude that when it comes to the physicality of the league, you know that it's important. So he was shoving people off of him. He was controlling the tempo of the game. He played a beautiful through ball. He had a nice look at goal. When you look at this team, Diego Luna, Gilavogi, they have that young kid Hazard Khani as a dual 10. Olatunji, their striker. I don't know when he's going to be available. I know he had a situation with his eye in the middle of the week. Defensively, you have Justin Glad, who it was surprising for me to find out that he's nominally a designated player, which goes to show you that he's probably a DP that they can buy down if they truly want to invest more. Defensively, he changed the system to a 3-4-3. He's got natural fullbacks as center backs. Could that be an adjustment for them. One of them is Lucas Engel from Cincinnati. The other one is Yedlin, who made his entire career and money as a right back,
Mm-hmm.
and he's played as a wing back for Cincinnati. He's played a little bit of center back as well. Is that his strong suit, or is that where his evolution is going to take him? I mean, that remains to be seen. If he
Or
can
is
be a
or is he
service,
or is he being hidden because when he's healthy, he's 32?
no doubt. I mean, but I like their guy that they played on the left hand side, the Sanabria. He's coming from Mexico, from Atletico San Luis. He's brothers with Sanabria from LA Galaxy. I think that this is a very complete team, and they beat Seattle Sounders, which it was crazy for me to find out that Seattle Sounders hasn't won in regular season like for since 2011.
15 years, man.
15 years. That's incredible. So they deserve the win. I think that needs to be said. And so I'm really excited to watch another one of their games, see where this next step takes them, probably with Gilavogi more involved
Yeah.
in the 18 from the get go. I would imagine if he was ready to come in 20 minutes. And what I saw from him, I'd be like, "Yep, come on, you're starting." That would be my guess. Um, but look, from Atlanta United, it's just been really disappointing. And I've not been shy to say in the last couple of years that every year they are the biggest disappointment. And the reason why I say that is because, look, you can't say that about DC United or Montreal or um, Colorado Rapids, even, at a certain time, because they don't spend as much as Atlanta United does. And
Mhm.
so when you look at the caliber man for this team, you realize that the expectation should be very high. And look, I called it last year and I'm not proud of it, but I just could see things last year on our post game show for the wrap up in Espanol, El Resumen.
Mhm.
They won 3-2 in their first game against Montreal. I don't know if you remember that.
Mhm.
And I remember Gio Savarese and Ozzy Alonso, legend for Seattle Sounders and former player for Atlanta United. They were like, "Oh yeah, great win for Atlanta United," and I said, "Is it? Is it a great win?" Because what I saw was a team that at home struggled against one of the worst teams in the league, and they were gifted a couple of goals. And to me, that was more of an emotional win rather than an encouraging win, because what I saw was unacceptable from a team that spent that kind of money, that had a championship caliber coach um, in Ronnie Dyla. And you can talk about everything that went down afterwards, but in that particular time, you expected Atlanta United to be one of the top teams. In fact, I might have put him as a Supporter Shield potential winner. And what I saw from the first 2 to 3 weeks, I thought this isn't going to go well. And so I'm interested to see what Tata Martino can do with this roster. I'm interested to see how these new pieces are going to fit into ultimately supporting the cast of your designated players who haven't done what they have to do or what they need to do based on their price tag and their experience. And
Right.
look, maybe I'm too raw, but I don't care how bad your team is. You're a designated player, and they spent millions and millions of dollars on you. And if your complaint is that you're not getting enough of the ball, then you shouldn't be a designated player, because you're there to change the game. You're there to impact the game in ways that other players cannot do. And so for me, the biggest job for Tata Martino is, can he get the best out of the designated players,
Right.
and can the supporting pieces be the appropriate pieces to be able to maximize the production of these DPs? Because in this league, if your DPs ain't working, you ain't winning. That's
Mhm.
just the reality. So we'll see what happens with Atlanta United, but I certainly think that the league is better when Atlanta United is at the top. They're just a big market. It's one of the most beautiful stadiums in the world, which I'm excited to be there this weekend. They have a phenomenal fan base that gets behind the team when the team is winning and demands from their team when the team is losing. And I think that's something that's really special. Hopefully, for their sake, Tata Martino is able to pull out the magic wand and do some stuff there.
Another couple of minutes with you, and I can't thank you for dropping by. one of the things that I was looking at, obviously not knowing injury reports from Pablo, and because it was 5 out, he had the young kids in. He won't have Peel because Peel's injury with the Achilles, he's done, and so one of your young striker availabilities is out the door. But I was thinking, looking at the lineups from last week,
Yeah.
that if you had Hezerkani and Gozo on the right-hand side, once again, this is assuming no
Yeah.
Diego Luna, no Olatunji. If you have
Right.
Hezerkani and Gozo on the right-hand side, that matchup of those young kids going up against the left-hand side of the defense for Atlanta United, whether it's Alzate or your left-sided six sliding over Elias Baez,
Yeah.
and who your left-sided center back is, if it's Barakal or Mihai, whatever that setup is.
Yep.
I'm looking at that 3v2 in there as one of the key things to put in the spot shadow for this one. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup there. Gozo is not naturally a wingback. I think he still needs to figure out exactly how that needs to work. I don't think he's a linear player by nature. I think he's more of a central player that, listen, if I'm being honest, I almost think he's being kind of wasted on the right-hand side. And yes, I know that he's had a big impact. And my hope for him is that he continues to grow in that position. But this dude needs more protagonism in the game, right? And I certainly hope that he continues to grow in this role. Because I do see him more naturally as a more central player, and he has kind of come from the wide areas to the inside. But that's going to be a really interesting battle for Baez, for Alzate, for whoever plays on the right hand side. Look, I think Atlanta United has an opportunity attacking wise. If Yellen is not ready, Quinton is not necessarily the most stable or fastest guy in the league. I don't know if he's a starting caliber center back. I think he's a very serviceable player. But the key for Tata Martino is how are you going to take advantage of that situation? Seattle Sounders tried to do it, putting Rothrock on that side. They thought if I can get Gazzo dragged out and I can get Rothrock in a 1v1 situation with Quinton, I think we're winning there. Quinton did a fine job, honestly, because Gazzo was helping out defensively a lot. So what can Atlanta United do to exploit those situations? Because I think from in other areas of the field, I think Real Salt Lake is pretty strong.
Who's on the call with you? Who are you? Who are you in the booth with this weekend?
I will be with Ramses Sandoval, just
Oh,
absolute legend. He's just a phenomenal partner. He's a great play-by-play guy, and he's been around the business for a very long time. He's called many games at the Benz before because he's done it at the international level as well. So I'm really excited. Listen, I wanted to tell you something about Atlanta United, and I don't know if you agree.
okay.
When I look at this team,
Yeah.
it's a bunch of players from outside Major League Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I think Atlanta United is missing MLS experience, MLS pride. You look at that team from 2018, and who were the unsung heroes? It was Parkhurst, it was Laurentowicz, it was Nagby, it was Guzan, it was Gressel. The list goes on, and then you had your designated players who were absolutely fantastic, and that was always a story. But I always feel like as the league continues to evolve, what we cannot lose is that MLS experience, that MLS know-how of the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
I might even say the MLS pride, because these guys were proud to play for MLS. And what I see in some teams, and I would venture out to say that maybe for Atlanta United, there might be some players that are looking at Atlanta as a place to maybe go somewhere else in the future, or just different mentality where you had this dude and that they had so much pride for this, not just the team, but the league. And they were such an amazing supporting cast to this big time designated players. And I just feel like Atlanta United has missed out on that in the last couple of years. And I just think that Tata Martino obviously understands that because he had that in 2018.
Right.
I'm curious to see how this roster build is going to evolve, because I do think that they are missing a little bit of that MLS essence that they had in 2018.
Yeah. And with Chris Henderson, who was with him down in Fort Lauderdale, you've got that familiarity that's there as well. Looking to bring in Matias Galarza in short order when everything is there. And now they're linked to a player from Atletico Mineiro in the summer window as well. But no, that is. I mean, I've been looking at it from not the MLS veteran standpoint, but I've been looking at it from the academy standpoint,
That too.
where Atlanta United has a guy like Cooper Sanchez come
Yeah.
through. We've been center back you and left back you for the longest time, and so you've got this wave of folks that are coming up through the academy that are we're looking forward to it with Will Riley in the midfield when he is healthy, Jay Fortson when he is healthy, Matt Edwards now that he is healthy. So I think in lieu of the MLS veteran, you're getting the Atlanta United Academy experience to be a part of that build with the international players and the DP. So it's that and the Academy build and not necessarily the MLS vets.
Listen, you have that. And I mean, you have that, for instance, in a team like the New York Red Bull, right? And I think they're kind of changing. I mean, look at that roster, and it's top-level international players, MLS experience, and some really good academy
and the baby Bulls, man.
Listen, I think we just figured out the perfect formula on how to win in Major League Soccer. You're welcome, everybody. Go ahead and steal it. Just go ahead and tag us, all right?
Absolutely. It'll be great to see you. When are you flying up? Later this afternoon?
I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly Saturday morning. It's a short flight.
Okay.
I like to Friday nights when I get a chance. I like to go grab dinner with my wife and my kids. It's a great ritual. We go to a Tex-Mex restaurant, and we just really have a good time. And anytime I can take advantage, and it's a short flight. I fly early in the morning, and I'm really looking forward because I'm going to meet with Ozzy for lunch. I'm trying to see if I can get together with Rob Valentino, who I think is, an Atlanta United legend. I mean, I just think of Rob Valentino, and I think the knowledge that he must have learning from some really top managers that, okay, they may not have had success in Major League Soccer, but the knowledge is there. And so I just wonder what type of stuff is in Rob Valentino's head from his experience. And I'm really looking forward to tapping into, obviously, finding out and keeping up what's going on with his family. We're really, really good friends. But I'm also interested in see what kind of encyclopedia he's become of coaching and see what I can learn from my guy, because I think he had a great time with Atlanta United and obviously achieved some great things. I gave the people some happy moments in a probably darker time than they wanted to.
Yep, and we need to catch up with him because of the new gig on the business card. We need to find out it's like repping the national team. Just get up here safely, please. And we will hopefully see you in the confines, see you up there in the press box, and we'll sit there and shake hands and say hi to you and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for dropping by on a Friday. Can't thank you enough for doing this. Like I said, you've got the garage door opener. You know where the key is under the mat. On a Friday, if you want to vent your spleen, last hour of the show, come on in. That's what it's here for.
You're the man, John. All right, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Okay, we'll see you soon.